Everyone thinks dropshipping is saturated, cooked, dare I say, dead. But the reality is the amount of people buying things online is only going up. The industry is projected to hit $8 trillion in just a couple years. All you need is a slice of that to get rich. So let me show you how I've made $200,000 dropshipping this year. To start off, what kind of dropshipping should you do? And specifically you and also me. I'm gonna break this down here in a second. So what I mean is, for me, I'm somebody who, or at least when I was starting out again this year, I was somebody who had a little bit of capital, had experience doing it in the past, had a little bit of business knowledge from previous ventures, and this was my situation. So I went straight to Facebook ads. This is a consistent way to generate revenue every day, and you don't need to pump out content. You don't need to switch products every couple days when you're like organic dropshippers do. Now, if you are someone that is broke, doesn't have a lot of money, has more time, and is pretty creative, at least in the sense that you can take something and rip something, like rip a creative and maybe make it a little bit better, then I would suggest you do organic. Organic, aka TikTok / Instagram. Alright, those are the two main platforms that you're going to be selling on if you're doing organic. So if you want to do Facebook ads dropshipping yourself, I think that if you fit this next bill, then you could definitely do it. So first of all, you're going to need at least $1,000 cash, at least, that you can burn, like straight up burn. Count it is dead, basically. $1,000 cash. You have some knowledge, like at least in dropshipping. Like you don't need knowledge, but you know you have a little bit of knowledge in the space. You've been around dropshipping for a little bit, and maybe you've had some stores in the past, but it just hasn't quite worked out yet. Or maybe you've even spent a few $1,000s before. You made some sales, but you just haven't been able to scale. Facebook ads is still going to be your best bet. So if you have a credit card and a computer and even a phone, you can run Facebook ads. The criteria isn't anything too crazy. You just need to have some money you're willing to lose, essentially. No matter what, I think you're gonna, unless you get really lucky, you're gonna hit on some of your first creatives and stuff, you're gonna burn through money. It's just the way it is. You're gonna have to learn. Even for newer products that I even launch now, I'm gonna burn some money for a while. It's not gonna be perfect right off the bat. When you think about it, when you're testing a product, and I'm gonna go over this more in some coming videos, but the best dropshippers, best e-commerce people who are running Facebook ads, they're not hitting every single ad. So when you launch 10 ads or you make 10 TikToks, what is the chances of one of those succeeding? Well, 1 in 10 would be really good. So if you're making 10 creatives, I'm looking for 1 to be a winner. That's 10%. That's pretty solid. That might not sound like a lot, but that's just the reality. You can data back things. You can do a lot of stuff. But with ads, you just don't know sometimes. You can't guarantee something. And in general, I think most people are going to be around the 5% hit rate. That's kind of where a lot of people are going to be at. And maybe even under that as well. So best people are doing 10%, right? They're 1 out of every 10, 5%. So that means if you make 100 ads, you should have like 5 winners. 5 winners that can be like somewhat scaled, right? So does that mean that you just make a bunch of crap ads and try to get 5 winners? No, you still have to data back things. You still have to make sure that everything makes sense. Along the way, you do your proper research. But that's just to keep this into perspective, that why I say you need at least $1,000. Of course, this depends. If your product's a little more expensive, well, you're going to need more, so you can run more ads and do stuff like that. But I'd say $1,000, like I said earlier, I went as low as negative $1,400 before I started making money back in terms of net profit. So something to keep in mind. Now, moving along, keep it simple. So I'm going to go off the assumption that you're running Facebook ads, because this is what I did. This is what I know best. I'm not the greatest organic dropshipper, and I'm not going to talk about that. So Facebook ads. All right, let's just put this in parentheses right here. And yeah, so if you're an organic dropshipper, you should probably go off this video, to be honest. But keep it simple. So what I mean by this is when you're running Facebook ads, you don't need to overcomplicate it. You don't need to do bid caps. You don't need to do ABOs. You don't need to do, it's like a testing campaign, a scaling campaign. You don't need to do all that. You just need to keep it simple. And so what I do is that, whoops, I will do one CBO. If I can write right. There we go. Oh, there we go. CBO. And you're going to trust Facebook. That's all you're going to do. So typically, you set it at $50 a day when you're first starting out. And you may need to do a little bit more depending on how much your product costs and everything. But $50 a day. And at $50 a day, you're spending $1,500 a month, I believe. So potentially even $1,500 in cash here that you're willing to lose. And with this amount, you're going to be running about 5 creatives. Like, you don't want to overpopulate your ad account, because if you do, I'm just going to type this, creatives. If you do, it's going to be really hard for Facebook to determine what to show to people. Now, with the CBO, this means that Facebook is choosing which creative they think is best and will show that to the audience they think is best, because we're doing broad targeting, no interest. You can choose the gender if you want and the language. That's what I do. But for the rest of it, you're leaving it up to Facebook. So Advantage Plus, they're cooking, right? And this basically means that your creative has to do a lot of the work. Facebook will scan your creative. They will see your creative and understand who your ad is talking to. They will understand what the awareness level of the avatar that you're talking to is. So they will do their best to show it to those kinds of people. Is it going to be right every time? No, but they're going to do a pretty good job of it. AI and Facebook, they know what they're doing. So you start at $50 a day, and you can increase from there. Like I said, depends on your selling price. If you're selling something for $75 and your target CPA is like $50, you could still do this. But if it's like more than this, like if your target CPA is above $50, you'd want to increase the budget as fast as possible. That way we can get more data and try to get at least like a sale a day. Like if your target CPA is like $100 and you're only spending $50, it's gonna be kind of tough to actually like make sales, because you might get a sale at once every other day, and then like different days are different, so it makes things a little bit complicated. But just to touch on this as well, when you're testing creatives, please run things for at least 3 days. At least. If something is getting a lot of spend, right? If Facebook really likes one of the 5 creatives that you put in there to start, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it really likes this one, well, it might spend, let's just say that spends, off of 3 days, the spend is 120. And you got maybe 1 sale off of that. Yeah, then I would cut it, right? Like if you're getting some really bad numbers, or if you got 0 sales at $80 spend, and your target CPA, meaning cost per acquisition, so you're looking to get sales at, let's just say $30, well, that's already 2x your target CPA. Maybe break even is, let's just say 45. So at this point, yeah, I would probably cut this creative. Okay, you have to let the ads actually get impressions, actually get clicks. Otherwise, you're not going to know. Like if you cut an ad, let's say it has 100 impressions, 5 clicks. Right, that's only 5 people that visited your store. If you were to convert here, you'd be at a 20% conversion rate, which is pretty insane. So, you know, you got to know your conversion, what kind of conversion rate you're wanting to go for. If you're in the beauty niche, it needs to be a little bit higher because competition is a little bit more fierce. But then again, your CPMs are going to be higher. You're going to be getting higher quality traffic. So there's a balance to everything. If you're running more of a broader product that hits on both male, female, and your CPMs are gonna be lower, your cost per click is gonna be a little bit lower. So there's a few factors that play into that. But all that to say, keep it simple. I know this stuff is a little bit complicated, but when you're first starting out, $50 a day, 5 creatives, see what the numbers are for 3 days. If there's no conclusive evidence, run it for 5 to 7. You want to try to run ads for a full week if you possibly can. Like you want to see the cycle of every day, because Mondays are not the same as Fridays. Saturdays are not the same as Tuesdays. Sundays are not the same as Wednesdays. Each day can be different, and it's different week to week, so you don't truly know. Now, in general, things are going to be consistent. Like what I've seen in my store, generally Friday, Saturday, Sunday, those are pretty solid days. Even Thursday is. Monday, not great. So today is a Monday. Sales haven't been the best, but tomorrow's a Tuesday. The sales are going to get a little better as the week goes along. That's just the pattern that I've noticed. All right, so let's move on to the next thing here. And this is look for low-hanging fruit, whether it's with products, whether it's with creatives, whether it's with stores. I'll explain that in a second. So what I mean, actually, you probably can rephrase this to offers. So for products, a lot of people will look at Kalo data, right? It's like, oh, there's this product that's doing super well on TikTok. Let me just bring it over to Facebook. And yeah, normally that would be low-hanging fruit. The problem is a lot of people are doing that, and there's a ton of competition. Everybody's ripping those killer data creatives. If you dig deep enough, you could find some stuff, no doubt, and you can still beat people that are selling some of those top products in TikTok Shop if you have a really good offer and you can outcompete them on some different things, like the creatives, for example. If you do a little bit more than the just average rip the creative and throw it up on Facebook. So what I mean here, though, is you're looking for the lowest hanging fruit where you don't have to put in a ton of effort to get results. And whoops, let me just type this. I gotta stop trying to write things. So what this means is if you find a product on Kalo Data, let's just say it has like 30K in the last month, and it maybe even had like a 100K a month. So you know this product can sell. And let's also say there's one competitor on Facebook. So if you've made it this far in the video, I think you'd be a great fit for the Ecom Syndicate, which is my paid community. You get direct access to me to ask me anything you want. There are some educational videos in here for digital products, for drop shipping. There's also brand building stuff as well. There's over 30 videos in there right now that you can watch and learn from. And then also there's proven frameworks, themes, there's notes, there's tools, that's a lot of stuff that's not publicly shared that a lot of the top 7-figure brand owners are using right now. And it's going to give you some different systems that you can implement in your business, which will make things way more efficient. And there's also weekly calls when people are free. So if you are feeling like you're stuck drop shipping, or you're trying to get a product off the ground, or you're starting to scale, and you're in this 0 to 50K a month range, or even 50 to 100K a month, I think you'd be a great fit for the syndicate. So there's a link in the description and in the pinned comments if you're interested. And also, if you have not started your drop shipping journey just yet, you're sitting here watching on the sidelines, there's a link for 3 months free of Shopify. I was able to partner up and get you guys a great deal there. So if you have not started a store, go ahead and do so. With that said, let's get back to the banger video. So this is the estimation by the Facebook seller. You can do that based off of Shop Hunter or whatever. They've been running it for at least a month, longer than a month. They really need to be running for like 3 to 6 months. That's where I'm like, okay, they know what they're doing. Like, they didn't just have a lucky month. They've been actively able to scale over the past several months, and they're going to continue to go. Even longer would be better, but when you're looking for these kind of products, you're not going to pick something random off AliExpress and just start selling it. That's just not going to work. So what you have to do is you need to find a product somewhere. Typically, I'm just going to use Kalo Day as an example. You could use Facebook methods. You could use scrolling. You could do TikTok, just general, organic, and bring it over if it makes sense. There's a lot of methods you can do to find products. But for the low-hanging fruits, and when finding a product, let's just say you find something on Kalo Data with these specific metrics, right? And you find that it's proven on Facebook. Okay, is there anybody that's running this brand just on Google? Like, if you look at the name of the product when you're searching it, is it on Google? If it's not, maybe this store comes up because they're a little more established. But what you can do is you can take that and just run it on Google Ads. That's a little bit low-hanging fruit. You're gonna have to switch up your strategy, and you're gonna have to learn Google Ads, no doubt. But you can run that on a different market. So when you're looking for low-hanging fruit, you're gonna see, okay, what is working? What's working? Then you're going to see where is it working, and then how is it working. What this means is what creatives are they running. So, like, for example, on this Facebook store, what awareness level are they mostly targeting, and what sophistication level are they running? So the 5 stages of awareness, of course, are unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and most aware. And if they're running their brand correctly, they're going to be hitting all 5. Now, where this gets a little bit more interesting is the sophistication level of their creatives and then also of their offer. So what is market sophistication? I pull this up right here. So it's completely untapped market. This means it's a very unsophisticated audience. You're the first to market. You do not want to be first to market. That is not low-hanging fruit. So let's move down. New competitors enter the market, slightly sophisticated audience. So you're not doing anything too fancy. This is where some of the low-hanging fruit is. You're second, you're third, you're 5th to market. You're not 59th to market. Now, if this brand is, this could be an older product and it's a little more saturated. Okay, maybe these guys are running some pretty crazy creatives. They're very high-end. There's a lot of great concepts, and they're running maybe some even like IRL ones that are interviews, and they're just doing some really crazy stuff. It's not basic B-roll voiceover and like showing the product, talking about the benefits, or even doing some more emotional styles of videos that are the same with the B-rolls and the voiceovers, but they aren't doing, tons of UGC. They're not doing a lot of fancy stuff. So if they're doing all that, it's going to be really tough to compete. I've had to talk about this a little bit with some of the guys in the Ecom Syndicate, which is my paid Discord. Some of them were like, should I run this product? Well, the thing is, I'm asking, they'll send me the competitors and everything. It's like, well, you could. You're going to have to be really good, though, to beat them out. If this is a more sophisticated market, it's going to be very tough, especially as a beginner, right? You're trying to beat out people that know what they're doing. They have experience, and they're targeting a more sophisticated audience, which requires more effort. Once again, if you're starting out, you're trying to get going dropshipping, you're looking for the low-hanging fruit. This means the offer is not a 3-in-1 kit. It's not a 5-in-1 kit. They're not running advertorials to all their products. They're not going crazy. They have some somewhat simple creatives. They're not doing anything too insane. Their offers is maybe buy one, get one. Maybe it's just a sale, something super basic. It's not anything crazy. They're not even running gift offers. I mean, a lot of people just do that in general now, but still. So the third sophistication level is your marketing claim feels old to your sophisticated audience. They've heard it before. You can think when Make Money Online was starting to become very popular in like 2018, 2019. That's when this is kind of this stage, like drop shipping. Like it was still pretty big in 2018, and they've heard it before. They heard it in 2016. They heard it in 2015. Now in 2018, So the market moved to the next level of sophistication. There's a new mechanism, and this is the new mechanism is enlarged upon. So now you'll see things like branded drop shipping, or that's where TikTok organic drop shipping comes in. There's all these fancy things that come in. And now that's the mechanism. So, and also an example of this is if you've heard of SMA, Social Media Marketing Agency. SMA was kind of a mechanism for just running a normal marketing agency. Or even like when Iman Gadzhi made it very popular, he started calling a bunch of different things. It's also even like a marketing agency is now also being called freelance brand scaling by Brett Scales. Like you take the core thing and just spin it off in a different direction, which is completely normal, completely fine. It just depends, once again, what the market sophistication level is. And so, like I said, if you're down at 3, if you're ideally looking for 2, maybe even 3 when you're looking for low-hanging fruit. If it's 4 or 5, good luck. Good luck. You have to be insane. You have to be cracked at marketing to be able to beat these guys. So 5 is the now sophisticated audience no longer believes or wants to hear your claims. This is where the Make Money Online space is at. Nobody believes anything anymore. There is zero trust in anything. And that's why all the comments, you look in any sort of video where somebody's trying to sell something and they're just like, put the course in the bag, bro. Like, come on. Or put the coaching in the bag, that kind of thing. So that's where we're at with that, and you have to kind of almost revert back to the beginning where you use simple terms and you have to really try to build trust as much as possible. That's how you beat market sophistication. And obviously, if you're running a brand of your own, you want to kind of hit on all these 3 things, or excuse me, all 5 of these things, all these sophistication levels as your market builds out and you build more awareness for your brand. But that's a story for another day. So once again, you need to understand all these different things and where you can find the low-hanging fruits, which is kind of what I was just explaining. So moving along to the next thing, and this is to utilize AI. AI is so big nowadays. Everybody's starting to use it. There's AI UGC, there's of course ChatGPT, and there's images, create like image creatives as well. Of course, product photos, all kinds of stuff, right? So the big one here I want to talk about though is ChatGPT, because it can do images, it can do creatives, it can do not really product photos, but kind of. It can also do avatars, which is really, really important. You can feed it a little bit of data, you can tell it some specific things, and you can get people, specific people. So let's just say Sally, Billy, and Wally. All right, these are 3 people. It can spit out these avatars all day and all night. Like it will find more people. You just gotta feed it more data. Tell it what you want and how you want these people. It can find specific people based off of what you give it and what you're asking for. Like, okay, now I can use this information and I can potentially add some mechanisms in if the market sophistication is a little bit higher, or if I'm targeting a specific awareness level. You can utilize this to give you ideas and inspiration for what you're doing. Am I saying to use exactly what he's saying? No, you have to use your own thinking cap and figure it out yourself logically. But this is a great starting point. You feed it some data, you get some data back. Now you can make decisions based off of that data. You always want to get as much data and as much ideas as possible, as many ideas as possible. And so if you have these 3 avatars, like, okay, let me run an ad for Sally, let me run an ad for Billy, and let me run an ad for Wally. And now let me run these, right? Run those 5 creatives we talked about earlier, and see which person resonates most with. You could even run a similar angle. They wouldn't necessarily be similar, but you can run a similar idea or concept for these 3 avatars. And then you can say, okay, which one worked the best? Which one started to get sales? Which one started to get traction? Okay, Billy worked. Well, now we're going to focus up on Billy. We're going to double down. We're going to do 80-20, meaning 80% of the time, now we're going to be focused on doubling down on Billy angles, ones that worked for him. We're going to focus on that avatar. Now, 20% of the time, we're going to find other ones. We're going to find Jilly. We're going to look at these other avatars, maybe Yally. Whoops, these are not real names. But now we're going to start testing these. But once again, we're going to double down on Billy. We're going to make more angles. We're going to make more creative concepts. All kinds of great things because we found that winning avatar. So utilizing AI. Now AI AGC, I don't have a ton of experience in this myself. I'm only starting to get into this. But there's some crazy stuff you could do. This is great for getting a little bit of a person to be in front of your creatives. And so a couple people are testing that out in the e-com syndicate, and I'm curious to see what their results are. A lot of people are using it where they're doing a little bit of a talking segment and B-roll. Talking segment, B-roll. It's that same person talking throughout the entire time, but you're throwing a lot of B-roll over those clips. That way it doesn't look as fake. Because if you just have them talking for more than like 5 seconds, people can tell it's AI and they're going to be a little bit turned off. So until that gets, way better, some of the stuff is really phenomenal as it is, but you're going to want to do some B-roll. Alright, so of course, like I said, ChatGPT, they can do images, you can give it inspiration, it can put your name on products, it can do a lot of great stuff, you can make some creatives that way and product photos. Yeah, I think you could definitely get away with ChatGPT making something, doing a little bit of color correcting because it tends to be very yellow, and then you can add in some different graphics yourself, because when you tell ChatGPT to do words, it's still not the greatest at that, and if you try to tell it to do too many things at once, it's going to get a little confused. So utilizing AI, which is pretty cheap, going for the low-hanging fruit, keeping things simple, running Facebook ads, you can go from 0 to 10K in honestly not that much time, especially in sales. If we're talking profit, it's going to take a little bit longer, but sales, 10K sales is not that much. It's really not that much if you're selling a $100 product, which is a little more high ticket, but if you're doing that, you literally only need 100 people to buy that. That's it. Only 100 people. It's pretty insane to wrap your mind around that you only need 100 people. You probably know 100 people. You probably have more followers than 100 people, and you could make 10 grand doing that. So, pretty crazy stuff. With that said, though, guys, if you did enjoy, make sure you drop a like, subscribe for more content, because I'm dropping every single Saturday, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.